let's talk about Furiosa, a Mad Max Saga. I really like the Mad Max movies. They're just such an adrenaline-filled series of films, especially Fury Road, which is just a complete experience from how amazing the visuals look and the impeccable sound design and just the whole bombasticness of it with very minimal dialogue. They were able to tell a compelling and really thought-provoking story while just feeding you these amazing imageries and action set pieces after action set pieces. And I remember after Fury Road came out, they were talking about doing a Furiosa movie, and at the time I was like, it's never going to happen. And 9 years later, when they finally announced it, I was like, oh, it's actually happening. The trailers didn't really excite me too much, and I wasn't sure how Anya Taylor-Joy, as a fantastic actress as she is, would fare in the role of Furiosa that Charlize Theron killed. But it is safe to say that Furiosa, a Mad Max Saga, really lives up to the Mad Max legacy. It is definitely a slower burn of a film, and it pays a lot of homage to the original Mad Max series, where it's a little bit of a slow build-up until you get into those really big, bombastic set pieces. This one is also a lot more tongue-in-cheek than Fury Road ever was. There are really intentionally and even unintentionally great moments that are just funny and have you laughing with not just the characters themselves, but at their actions and the absurdity of the situations that are going on. Chris Hemsworth really kills it in his role. I think he is probably the highlight of the film. He just eats up everything. He's just so camp. He goes all in with this over-the-top character who is just unabashedly himself, and he doesn't care what the world thinks. He has completely unapologetic, and it's just such a meaty and juicy role that I didn't really see Chris Hemsworth being able to do, but he did it really well, which I guess I should know because he has really great comedic timing, and he's also a physical force. But my biggest concern was Anya Taylor, and she does justice to this role, especially as a Furiosa that hasn't been jaded yet, that still has hope and is still trying to find her way and grow and learn. And then towards the end, where she finally owns the Furiosa that we come to know and love from Mad Max Fury Road. I will say that if you're going into this movie expecting to get the same adrenaline rush as you did in Mad Max Fury Road, don't go in with that expectation. It is a bit of a slower burn film. It is really going back and telling the story of how Furiosa became Furiosa. So you don't get those big set pieces until really like the last third of the film. And even then, it's not as grandiose as Mad Max is. But it does get you so hyped to go watch Mad Max Fury Road. And that's what I kind of did when I went home. I went and watched Mad Max Fury Road. And they are just such a good, compelling companion pieces together. Not that I needed to know how Furiosa became herself, but it is great to see, and it adds a lot of depth and dimension to her character. And again, I don't think it hits those highs that Fury Road does, but as a companion piece, as a movie that builds up to it, and you can watch it as one whole movie, it does what it's supposed to do, and it does tell a pretty emotionally compelling story. I wish the emotions were a little bit more higher, so we got a little bit more pain and tragedy from it, because the way that the trailer built it up made it seem like her life was super tragic, which it is, but they don't build it up like that, at least in here. Just from her backstory in Fury Road, I was able to feel more emotion, especially the scene where she finds out that her paradise has gone away. But it is a fun ride. The movie does justice to the Mad Max Saga, and the characters are great. The action pieces are really good for what they are. They just don't hit those highs, which I didn't really expect it to. And it does take a little while to find its footing and start going, because you're just waiting for Furiosa to finally show up and do Furiosa thing. But highly recommended, especially if you're a fan of the Mad Max Saga, especially if you are a fan of the earlier series. It does lean towards that one in terms of the storytelling and the humor aspect of it, whereas Fury Road is a more visual and sound heavy film. But again, it's still Furiosa, a Mad Max Saga. It's just a really good movie.